No. Hello. Well, it's Morning Glory. I'm not sure we're getting the best audio right now because I'm not using my microphone. I left the cable somewhere. Just chillaxing. I was up till like 4 a.m. running around beating feet in all these different streams and stuff. I was running around town and forgot I needed to sleep. So yeah, finally did that, and now we're up and doing laundry. Just doing my laundry. Just doing normal stuff. Both of my rehearsals got canceled this week for various reasons. And so, yeah, that's what happened with me. My fancy new avatar. I like this one better. Kevy Kev over here, just hanging out. There's a link somewhere down there. It's a Monday stream. I'll probably do one later. I still have a couple of things to accomplish, but I'm kind of on downtime right now while I do these chores, doing the basics. So, yeah. Don't forget to do your laundry, everyone. Clean your room. I can't do Jordan Peterson or Kermit the Frog, but it's pretty close. Roll with it. Just run with it. It's okay. It's going to be fine. Everyone's going to be A-okay. Yeah, I was hanging out with... dude, I was in a few streams. Last night was interesting. So, and I think it was because of the weather. I kept losing connection. So it wasn't that I was getting booted. I was just, shitty connection using my phone. And it was kind of raining and stuff. So, so yeah, as far as I know, there's like an ongoing stream that went from William's channel to Hillary's channel. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the way it happened. I don't know if they're still live now, but let's see. I don't see anything here. Yeah, I don't know what the dark side. Are we on the dark side? Oh yeah, that's right, we are. Evil evolutionists doing terrible things, degenerating and reprobating the minds of our Christian youth. What's up, Diana? We'll say hi in the chat.
It is better to stop breathing. It is better for me to stop breathing.
Oh, to hold your breath, not to like literally stop breathing. Okay. What's up, Hillary's? Good to see you. I guess that means you're not streaming.
I don't know, will you? What is it that you don't like about my spending my remaining time in some degree of comfort?
I think that should be fine. talking to somebody in the chat? Or just in general? Okay.
Why do you want me to suffer agony? To give up everything. To give up the channel.
Okay. Does not seem like she's doing well right now.
Sylvia.
So it seems like, oh wait, maybe she's coming back.
Lentils warmed up here.
All right.
I'm just frightened. I know. Okay, what do we have over here? I know that I have to die. So afraid. I just have to take action.
I'm all over here talking. I'm muted.
I'm so afraid. I know that you're there, ready to spring into action.
Oh yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna mess around and find out on this channel. You have the best moderators.
I'm put into a very bad place at the moment.
Is the room open? Let's see. I could just say go in, but the end is coming. So that's the description. We missed something significant here. But what is up? Look at the trees.
I wish that
we're hanging out. Diana's having a rough one.
I had my tools. I really can't do anything right now. Well, I can, but it would not be at all comfortable. I'd consider putting the rhetorical questions. But I know the rhetorical answers. I need to work up the nerve. I need to overcome the fear. I guess I've got a few days.
Is this what I think it is? Are we talking about the same thing?
I want to continue on from that line. I can't even remember what the hell I said.
Well, it sounds like you're saying It's concerning, but I don't know if I should participate in chat at this point or not, because I don't know
I wish there
what I
were
can say to that.
enough time. Oh, and then the resources. To lock you people up. Subject you people to subject you to what you're trying to subject me to. So you would know what you're doing. But somebody wants something. Because it appears that the social worker person, at the very least.
Oh, I have comments. Oh, yes. Sorry, yeah,
is feeding lies to.
1 second.
To the county.
Yeah, I really do feel for Diana. I listen to her quite a bit, but like right now,
I was
it's a little
told
bit
what was reported to the
like
county.
discombobulated. I don't want to be like just come by and say hi and show support. And just listen more than talk. Like it's really rough situation. So I just got a lot of things going on. So okay, we'll see what Alexandra has to say about the Bible, since that's on now.
In order to attain Rachel
Like making fun of Alexandra. She's cute though.
as a wife, but he only had to serve 7 days to attain Leah as a wife. So Leah would have embodied a certain level of anger. So she finally,
Alexandra.
likely through her sons, and again, I'm extrapolating here. This is my interpretation of the Bible, but she finally had enough when her daughter was defiled and was like, that's it. Sons, listen to me. Kill them all. That's my interpretation. So let's go into Genesis 35 now, okay? Jacob returns to Bethel. Then God said to Jacob, arise, go up to Bethel, dwell there, and there make an altar to God, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau, your brother. So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, put away the foreign gods that are among you. Purify yourselves and change your clothes. Let us arise and go up to Bethel, and there I will make an altar to God, who answered me in the day of my distress and has been with me wherever I have gone. So
So
they
how
gave
do you
Jacob all the foreign gods which were in
how do you purify yourself? I'm just wondering.
their possession, and all their earrings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the oak which was near Shechem. As they traveled, the terror of God was on the cities that were around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. There he built an altar and called the place El Bethel, because
remember
God
this
had
one,
appeared to him there when he fled from his brother. And for those of you who may just now be joining, whether you're listening live or as a
you have no
recording,
idea, lady.
you have to remember that Jacob fled from his brother who wanted to kill him. So it's kind of ironic that his brother wanted to kill him for taking the blessing.
It
and he
is,
fled,
isn't it?
And now all these other people are scared of him because of what his sons did in regards to killing everyone in that city due to their sister being defiled. Now, Deborah, Rebecca's nurse, died and was buried beneath Bethel under the oak. So it was called Elon Bakuth. God appeared to Jacob again when he came out of Padam Aram and blessed him. God said to him, your name is Jacob. Your name shall not be called Jacob anymore, but Israel shall be your name. So he called his name Israel. God said to him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations will come from you, and kings shall come forth from you.
We're going to make hell of
the
babies.
land that I gave Abraham and Isaac, I will give to you and to your descendants. After you, I will give the land. Then God went up from him in the place where he had spoken.
Isn't it funny that the God who's like, go forth and fuck, is also the God who slut shames? Like, is it like the same dude? He's like, no, now it's okay. Yes, you do that.
With him. Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he had spoken with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured out a drink offering on it, and he poured oil on it too. So Jacob called the name of the place where God had spoken to him, Bethel. The deaths of Rachel and Isaac. Okay, so now this is a documentation of Isaac and Rachel, the parents of Jacob and Esau.
What happened? He's listening to the show and it's on delay, so we're waiting for him to catch up and turn off the stream and listen to the phone.
Okay.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Chris.
Yeah. Hi, Matt. Hi, Dave.
Yeah, we're all caught up. What's up?
Yeah, I tried to narrow it down because they asked me if I had a question, and I had to go through my things and figure out what that might be. And I think what comes up in my mind is, to me, there's a spiritual aspect to our being, with stuff you can't see.
What's that mean?
And whatever.
I'm genuinely asking, and I only say this because I've talked about this many times. The word spiritual is pretty much meaningless to me because it means so many different things to so many different people.
Mhm.
So if you're going to use it, I'd just like to understand what you're talking about.
Just it's related to various things. I mean, it can be the soul that's living on or whatever. It's chakras in a body in that respect as well, and see whatever.
Is there anything that you don't believe?
What do you mean
psychic
the soul?
phenomena?
What do you mean the soul?
Anything I don't believe.
Anything I don't believe. Chakras. Okay. This thing's taking a second. I need to go switch out the laundry, so I'll be right back.
Because chakras aren't a real thing. Souls aren't a real thing.
Yeah, what do you mean the soul that lives on? You said that statement as though it was something that everyone believes in.
It's a common thing.
Well, I know a lot of people think it, but is it true? No.
Well, I guess not.
Okay,
I guess what I would say is that I default to everything's true. You know, like what's her name said.
That's a huge mistake.
What the hell does that mean? Everything's true.
Yeah,
That is
it's true until maybe somebody says it's not.
okay. Then I'm telling you right now that what you believe that everything is true is not true, which means you have to believe what I just said, which means you're wrong.
Okay, well, besides that, I don't know if I can wrap my head around that one right away, but
Probably not.
I do like to treat everything agnostically. I mean, I'm not convinced of anything.
Well, you just said you start by believing everything's true. How can you be?
How can there be your default position if you don't know?
There's a degree of truth. I mean,
What the hell does that mean?
I think
Something's either true or it's not true, right?
well, talk about the spiritual aspect of being, whatever this an unseen aspect to our being.
Okay. What do you,
That is-
so
that is
unseen?
something that I say 40 to 80%. I believe that or see it as probably
40 to
Sometimes I don't
80%.
Wide gap there.
Well, I believe it's somewhere between 0 and 0%.
okay.
I mean, we have consciousness that we're alive, but that doesn't mean we have a soul or a spirit or something that lives on. I don't know why you would assume that's true because someone told you it was.
I'm fine with the notion of I'm fine. Hang on.
It's true.
You just said you did. You assumed everything is true until it's proven false.
Well,
I'm very confused.
okay. In my perception, as far as being absolutely true, nothing is true except the physical things that I can have
That's
in front of me.
exhausting.
Chris,
Except maybe
Chris.
the
Chris.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go. We're 10 minutes over time. There's one more call to get to, and I don't want to take up any more of Dave's time. There's going to be food and stuff here. So go look up Liar's Paradox and some foundations in epistemology. Get your thoughts together and call back in another.
Those we're going to start with Mitch in Dayton, who is dealing with sleep paralysis and people telling you it's a sign from God. You're on with Tracy and Don.
Hey, Don. Hey, Tracy.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I heard Tracy once talk about sleep paralysis, and I was wondering, do you still get it, or?
Pretty rarely. I never got it really often, but I do get it sometimes. I don't get visual hallucinations. I get auditory, and nobody ever tried to tell me it was God. So that's a different context altogether.
Well, unfortunately for me, that's what they tell me.
Sure.
Well, what I
Oh my God.
suggest that you do
What did I miss?
is you educate yourself about it. And, you know, these armchair interpretations are not that helpful generally, and put them in their place. It's like maybe they're well-meaning, maybe these folks are, you know, trying to help you, but you know, I know I've been through an experience recently where my partner had cancer, and there's a lot of, you know, wackadoodle, you know, cancer cures that people will suggest.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to take them with a grain of salt, and maybe these folks are well-meaning. Maybe they, you know, intend that they're trying to help you. And if it's helpful, that's great. If it's not helpful, then, you know, thank them and move on. That would be my suggestion for how to deal with these sorts of folks. Because the sleep paralysis is a real thing, and a lot of people are affected by it various ways, and it can be pretty scary. I think it's more scary if you don't understand it, right, than if you do.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it when the mind is still awake, but the body isn't?
Right.
Yeah, you're still dreaming.
Yeah, it's a quasi-conscious state. From
Yeah,
what I
you're laying
understand.
there paralyzed and dreaming, and you're conscious of the fact that you're laying there paralyzed and dreaming.
Right.
And you see things.
And you can't, and your body
Yeah.
isn't working. Right?
And for whatever reason, generally everyone has a bad trip, right? It's like there isn't like a huge body of people who are like, I love sleep paralysis. I have the best dreams. And it's always like these horrific, like horrifying nightmares. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're
it's just, they say
trapped
that it's
there,
probably
yeah.
just a stress reaction from the brain, that when you realize you're paralyzed, you get distressed, and then your worst fears start eking into the nightmares. Because you're just, what if this happened and I can't move, right?
Right.
Nobody ever thinks I'm paralyzed. I could just relax and enjoy this. I mean, I do now.
Right.
But it's hard to get to that point
Yeah,
because you have to.
can get to the point where it's like, okay, this is what's going on. I'm not going to.
Yeah,
I'll be
so
fine.
I'll wake up
Everything's
eventually.
Good.
Yeah.
This has happened before. Yeah.
I don't know,
So
every time before I go to sleep, I always leave the lights on for some reason.
You like to sleep with the lights on?
Well, just in case my brain starts wandering again.
Okay. I mean, if it helps.
Crazy.
No, if it helps, then it helps.
is this something that's bothering
Yeah.
you a lot?
Well,
Hey, Richard, good to see you. Thanks for coming by. There's put another link if you want to come in. I got a little while doing, just hanging out here doing laundry. And so just watching some videos. And y'all are welcome. And thank you for coming. Multi-streaming on YouTube and Twitch. I'll probably take a break and stream later in the evening as well. So.
I don't know. Do you guys want to know how long I've been an atheist for?
Well, no, I'm just
I don't know
wondering,
what
like, are you having, I think what Don's getting at is like, is this causing you problems? Are you having like frequent events?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to maybe go to a sleep clinic and see what they think? Do you have one? I mean, Dayton's not a small town. So I would say maybe see if there's like a sleep clinic near you, if you have like health insurance, if it's covered. I mean, if you're starting to have a lot, I mean, it's not a pleasant experience.
I think, melatonin and that helps a little bit.
I love
Yeah.
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
Perfect. I'm better than I deserve. How are you?
Yeah, the same.
Right on. So the show you're watching there, that's a call-in atheist show. I don't remember the name of it. What was it?
The Atheist Experience? Yeah. They've done so many now that they just do 24/7 live streams of clips from older shows. So that's what we're watching.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's where Matt Dillahunty got his fame, and quite a few other YouTube personalities.
Right. So they're talking about sleep paralysis. You ever had that?
Yes, I have. I've had it a couple times. Generally associated with drinking or drug use, but I think I also.
I'm not sure it's
yeah.
the same thing. Is it? Is
I
that
don't
the same
know.
thing?
Yeah, I'm not certain. It seemed like the same experience they're describing, but yeah, it's pretty rare for me. I have more of a trouble with sleeplessness, so that's my big thing.
Yeah, one of my problems, I can't get my brain to shut up and concentrate on like relaxing and going to sleep.
Exactly. And that's
'Cause I'm
exactly the
always
moment when
thinking
he
about
wants
things I
to.
think are important. Yeah.
I'm like, brain wants to, just keep saying things at that exact moment. Like that's the time he wants to come online and not shut down. It's great.
Well, you gave it a chance to talk. I mean, you shut up for a while. And next thing you know, yeah. Are your thoughts progressive? Are they circular? Are they frustrating? Are they interesting?
Oh, it's some combination of those, but yeah, usually I end up in a situation where I'm beating myself up because I know I should be asleep and I can't make myself do that thing. So then I'm proverbially kicking myself in the ass, for not being able to just shut up and go to sleep.
See, for me, that's usually the same time as when I sit down, I lay down, I'm relaxed. I'm not like working on anything. That's actually for me some of the best of what I would call prayer. Not everyone would call it that, but like I get a little bit stressed when people are challenging me in the moment and I don't have a set response. If they're being nice, that's a different thing. I don't feel stressed and the brain works just fine. But like somebody said to me the other day, because I said Mayim is juice, not water. So like in the Christian translation, it came out water, but that's not really the right idea. And they had this other word that meant water. So if they meant to write the word water, they would have used the other word. So they're obviously using a specialized word for a specialized reason. And the kinds of juices that Mayim describes is like fruit juices and weirdly enough, human juices.
Is that where they reference, I think, somewhere like feasting on something that some people would describe as being like honey or nectar?
No.
That's a different passage? Okay.
Yeah, like Noah's flood uses the word Mayim, which would be small amounts of juices, like a fruit juice or even semen, is juice. It does not mean, it should never mean a really large collection of liquid. It just wouldn't be used that way. That didn't even make sense. There's another word that means seas or lakes, things like that. And that means, large groupings of water. So I said, well, it's Mayim, it's juice. He goes, well, why then? You'd have to find a way to justify. And he like put pressure on me and I choked. He said, well, why would Shamayim mean, water from the sky or get translated as rain? And it was actually last night I laid down and was relaxed when it dawned on me that where juice means, reproduction and people, there's also reproduced people in the sky in the story. So it's actually like not an issue at all. It's like not even a challenge. It makes total sense in the rest of the story. But of course I didn't think of that till I laid down and relaxed. So, I mean, my thoughts are progressive. They're not circular or frustrating. They're going somewhere, but that's usually when it happens. But because of things like that, I can't go to sleep.
Well, I would say I think my thoughts are progressive in a way, but it's circular because I don't accomplish the things that I sought to accomplish, right? Or at least I haven't up until this point. Like, well, I can sustain, like now, like a YouTube channel or something for some length of time, but it doesn't actually tend to grow. And it was like the same thing with my other projects. Anything else I was trying to do, it was like I would start doing that thing and it seemed like it was very stagnant, like it wasn't going anywhere. And that seems to be kind of the story of my life, right? Where am I going? I'm not going anywhere. But so my thoughts tend to trend towards how to try to fix that problem. But
I don't know. I think that our relationships amongst people is more like a romantic relationship than we'd really like to consider. And if you don't spend some time romancing the other person, in this case, your audience, then your audience, doesn't get like emotionally driven. So say, for instance, like you've been super kind to me, but I don't know that is or is not exceptional. If you like every time someone shows up in your chat, you throw up a StreamYard link. Do you actually do that?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah. That's how I ended up getting porn bombed. It bit me in the ass. But yeah, I mean, that was also a misstep in the sense that I didn't think about it before I did it. I was, drunk on a stream and, whatever, let this guy in and I have no idea who he is. So that was, a blunder. But yeah, out of kindness, sure. I mean,
thieves of all kinds, whether they're stealing truths or stealing materials or stealing your sense of security, whatever it is they're trying to steal. Thieves hate to be identified. So knowing that, what I did is I'll throw the StreamYard link up there, and when someone comes backstage, I'll record before I bring them in. I'll require that they turn on their camera and do something they couldn't have previously recorded. For instance, turn on your camera, touch 3 fingers on your left hand on a line on the bridge of your nose. Like, where the hell
I
would you find
noticed-
no footage of that?
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that you've done that, and it's very clever. But I know that a lot of us around here, if we know each other well enough, we have, a sense of, I don't have to test you to know that you are who you say you are at the,
That's
it's because
nobody wants to pretend to be me. There's other people they'll pretend to be. They'll just take an icon and a name from your side chat and use that. Sorry, I spoke over you. If that was insulting, you're muted now.
Yeah, as I said that, I got a little bit of a broken connection, but it sounds like we're back. I just missed the last couple of things you said.
I said no one has to worry about me coming into their stream being someone else pretending to be me, because who the hell would want to pretend to be me?
Right. I think it's funny that people are making the connection. I do other channels. Yeah, Stupid Monkey. Yes, same guy. Trusty Ape, Stupid Monkey. But it's funny too, because you can exercise openly in the duality that you actually are experiencing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can use that to kind of create a form of art or entertainment or what have you. Use those aspects of your personality to your advantage, right? Like, once we recognize it,
about it, right?
Yeah.
No, that's really interesting. I never thought about something like that. Like, maybe your average person should actually have 3 YouTube channels.
In case nobody's heard me talking enough yet, but it's for some of us, it's more. I mean, as much for our own benefit as for anybody else. So to be like, okay, so now I'm able to share an experience that otherwise was very difficult for me to express, and so then we end up with kind of these outlets for not just our creativity, but our frustrations as well, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Me, I'm really a one-track mind, a one-rail kind of train, a one-trick pony. I'm really, and I mean 24/7, my real life and everything. I could recommend people to you that would just say, "Yep, that's all he wants to talk about." And
so,
I don't really care to talk about anything else.
Would you say that it's an obsession of yours?
Obsession has luggage that means unhealthy. Unless you don't mean it that way, in which case, yes, I am completely possessed and obsessed about it. I am. Like, it's the driving force in my life, really.
And simply, how would you describe that driving force? I mean, I think I know what you're going to say, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Let's hear what you'd say first. That would be interesting. It's not going to affect what I'm going to say. I'd just like to hear it.
I feel like you seem to be compelled to convince people that they are able to adapt their way of thinking to treat each other kindly, in simple terms, for people to just get along, and that doesn't have to affect their ideologies, the way that they, whatever they want to practice in their personal lives, as far as faith, religion, meditation, whatever you call that thing.
Okay.
Right.
First, I would comment on your comment. I consider those things repercussions of accepting truths. That if I accept you for who you say you are and who you show me you are, then I've just accepted you. And now there's really nothing that I should have in the way of expectations, because people morph all the time. So if you do something, there's no way you could do something, in my view, that would be out of character for you. You see? So it's just you being the natural you, and that's what I should accept, whatever that is. So in that way, yes, the acceptance of truth leads to tolerance and hopefully love for others. But I think that's all just repercussions of the overall idea that if you're locked into a mindset, into like a religious mindset, where you are absolutely trapped by that, you're in one of the worst positions possible, because now you're unable to think rationally. You're unable to receive new evidence. And when a person's unable to receive new evidence, that's one of the major signs of dementia. You know, like that's a
Right.
mental disorder, bro.
And it also puts them at odds with any other flavor of society or culture, right? Because you can't
That too.
possibly have that if your rules are demanding that, you know, whatever marriage be between this person and that person and no other people, then, oh, well, now we've got that problem. And
You know, that's impossible to maintain anyway. Even if you said something like straight, cis, male and female is the only way that marriages should happen, right? And that's the religious contention, right? Please identify to me what straight means and how straight. And is anyone that straight that they're straight by your demands? So, I mean, where the hell do you draw the lines in those? You can't. It's kind of ridiculous, the whole thing.
I definitely agree with that. Okay, but so how did what I said kind of help to sum up, or am I off base in some way with my description of your mission statement? What, you know,
Well,
I would say
by
what
no
your
means a straw man, but I think those are just repercussions, or what's going to happen with a person if they seriously, you know, adopt that view that, you know, you as a person are intrinsically valuable. And so long as I build a trust relationship, a friendship with you, and I don't lie to you and you don't lie to me, then we can be ourselves, you know, provided we don't have some preconceived notions of what to expect from each other, right? And that promotes things like peace and harmony and acceptance of reality, even things you can't change, or maybe wouldn't want to change if you could change them, you know. So yeah, that gets rid of a lot of maybe could get rid of all the othering and all the prejudice and hatred that we, well, I guess we were influenced by our environment, that we need that as a survival technique. But let's face it, it's not a survival technique anymore, and we don't need it.
right. It became counterproductive at some point, and we haven't transitioned away from it.
Precisely.
And so, do you think there are genuinely bad people though in society? I mean, people that
No.
are so harmful to others they can't be. No,
I don't think there's such thing as a bad person. I think there are people who've been taught to not think or think poorly, and then they exemplify that. But that doesn't mean they couldn't be retrained. You know, that's why I'm always going around saying, "Hey, have you studied the 3 classical laws of logic?" when someone is saying things that don't make sense, or judging others in ways that don't make any sense, and jumping to conclusions and having magical thinking, I go, "Hey, have you ever looked into logic?" Because it's, you know, it's practical in real time. And then I'll give them examples of how using, you know, just normal logic, very basic fundamental stuff, has saved me and my customers money, or, you know, made a real difference in a person's life in some kind of a legal tragedy, or, you know, whatever.
I was thinking though, is there some utility, as long as they're not harming others, in having the belief, even if it's a a silly superstitious belief, even if they know that they are pretending, to have that useful fiction in order to help them to behave logically, right? So if this is the thing I need to make me not, go off the rails and want to kill people or whatever it is that, this is, that's how I'm going to do it. And if you need Jesus, fine, go run with that, just do it on your own time, right?
Well, we have David Wood, and the quote by Christopher Hitchens, essentially what you just said. And when he was asked if he would abolish all religions, he's like, no, some people need it. And he's not wrong, although to what extent they need it and whether or not they permanently need it, or if they could just like be taught how to think and they would no longer need it is another question. But it's obvious, in the smear of time that for certain people it's been useful and made them more productive in society rather than less. Of course, you have to weigh that if you want to, take the big scale picture. You have to weigh that against the harm that it's caused too.
So my question, especially with us in the U.S. right now, is there some type of amendment, something that has to be done to where we can actually, we would have to prohibit the free exercise of religion in some ways in schools and institutions to ensure that we have this truly secular society? Do you think that's something that is feasible, or how does that sound to you?
Oh gosh, you just asked me if I think 68% of America should be retrained in logic. Yes, I do. But can we do that? I don't think so. Not unless you made it mandatory as part of normal schooling, which it used to be in the U.S. long ago and is no longer like that. If we brought back rational thinking as a 3-semester or 2-semester kind of course, well, then possibly.
That's interesting. Just addressing Ox here. I was a carny baby. My mom traveled with a local carnival for a while I was an infant. So I don't know. Maybe got some connections there.
Yeah, I believe Ox did that for a while, didn't he?
Yeah.
Rough life, man. I don't know. I don't know if I'd like that. It looks like a rough hippie-ish kind of life. I don't know. Yeah, I think it could be done, but okay. So here's some conspiracy theory for 30 plus years. Yeah. That's a lot of time. Here's some conspiracy theorist kind of stuff for you. If schools under any government were teaching the majority of people rational thinking, would they eventually become a happy, tax-paying, military supporting, what the government wants? Would they be able to be what the government wants? And part of my answer to that is, well, probably not. So why the hell would you want to teach rational thinking? Because rational thinking says things like, if I'm scared of you and you're scared of me, but we sign a piece of paper or, cut thumbs and make each other blood brothers and swear to put down our weapons and never pick them up again, why do you need a weapon? And why do I need one? Well, just quit it.
Yeah, well, and so that leads me to my question would be, what is broken in the government that the function of government is not the will of its people, right? Because that ultimately should be the function of government according to all the philosophy, right? It should just be doing the will of the people.
Well, okay, so you use the words will of the people, right? And you might say something like, well, the average will of the people. Well, what is the average will of the people? Well, that's dictated by what they believe is true and their intellectual capabilities. Well, what's the average intellectual capability? Well, 100 out of 2. Do you really want the bell curve average? Some 60% of the bell curve deciding what should and should not be. So that's been tried before, and it was abolished immediately because it was just a mess. And that's the way that governing people look at it. They say, well, you guys aren't smart enough to make your own decisions. Actually, let's just make them for you, make you feel good, like you're participating in the decisions, but not really.
Well, it is in a sense true, though. Everybody, as long as we have the society functioning the way it is, everybody has to focus so much on their tasks, on their job, doing their chores, caring for their family. They don't really need to focus on all these other external issues, which is why we have the job of government in the first place, right? They're big brother, so to speak. That is their job, but not to condescend to the people, right? That's kind of where the disconnect is there. They're not supposed to tell us,
Right.
oh no, because we're all out here working, paying our taxes for the most part, so we're doing our
It was
part.
discovered quite a long time ago that it doesn't work for a governing body to say to the populace, look, we're in charge, do what we say. That doesn't work either. Okay. So what you actually end up with is something more like, here's an issue that came up over time or suddenly, and we need a resolution to this issue. So let's propose two bad ideas and one decent idea that still allows us to be governing, and doesn't destroy that, but it's a resolution to the issue. And let's propose those three ideas to the general populace. They'll immediately see that this one's really bad, that one's not so bad, and this is the best option. Then they'll tell us that the best option, which is what we intended in the first place, is what they want because it's obviously the best option, and then we can do what we wanted to do in the first place. And they call that democracy.
Okay, fuddled my brain a little bit. Let me try to. So we had all the best options, and then they're like, well, this is the best of the best options. We had like so many options. And
let's say your laundry were building up, right?
Right.
And as the governor of your house, I come to you and say, so the laundry's building up, and that's becoming a problem. So here's three things that you might want me to implement, and you tell me, what do you think is the best way to go? Option one, throw away all of the clothing and buy all new. Well, okay, well, that's an option. Get a dog and train it until it pushes the right buttons in the right order and does the right actions in order to do the laundry. But you're going to need a series of dogs because you need some folding and sorting, and do the laundry yourself. Okay, well, it's that ridiculous in my view. Because first of all, the government is presenting possible options. Why aren't the people doing that? Well, because the people don't have time. Well, why don't the people have time? Because they're overtaxed, they're overburdened, they're underpaid, and they have not nearly what I would call anything close to freedom. So of course that those are all systems that keep some governing body in power, and then they either create or see the problems, and they create possible solutions, and they make it to where the only viable solution that people could majoritively agree on is what they wanted to do in the first place, which is just, do your laundry.
Would you say that we are, in some sense, not to sound too conspiratorial, but we are trapped in a cycle where, I'd say capitalists, government official, news media, kind of have this backhanded deal going on where it is a kind of 1984-esque scenario where every minor conflict, they use it to increase the budget, we need more money for the military, more money for law enforcement that maybe is not really necessary. We actually don't need more funding for any of those agencies. We probably need less funding, but they continue to funnel it through those means. Does that make sense to you?
Does what part of it make sense? Do I think that's what they're doing?
Fear mongering. Yes. Yeah, they're fear mongering in order to just obtain capital. That's all it is.
I think it's more than that. The further that technology goes, the more physical, the less physical labor needs done by the masses. The more free time laborers have, the more time they have to think. Better find a way to keep them busy. Because you certainly don't want them thinking things like, why is there a two-party system and I'm restricted to that? Why hasn't there
or
ever
vote
been,
green, but you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, like why would they want us to think about things like that? Carbon tax, but no plan to get rid of the carbon. Like what?
I did see a very heartening video, though. Wait, let's see. Let's see if we can find this one. This is a good one. I reshared it earlier, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome." We do have some representatives doing good things out there somewhere.
Which one?
I think we got a lot of good ones. So I don't want to get the name wrong. I think it's Zoe. This is a case in Montana, I believe, and I don't want to. I'm trying to pull it up as quickly as I can, but it's a pretty short clip. Her and this psychologist just freaking own this courtroom right here. Forever, just you keep talking. We can keep talking.
How long is forever?
I've become a very patient person, I swear. A mighty long time.
Okay, have you ever thought about what your theory of truth is? That's always really hard to answer.
My theory of truth.
Yeah, your theory of truth. Like, what do you think is the most rational theory of truth? I think it's absolutely necessary, maybe even unavoidable.
The theory or the truth itself? Didn't work.
How about if I just ask you what is truth?
Sideways. So I think truth is ultimately going to be that thing that you cannot deny. You have no rational explanation for excluding it from the realm of reality.
Okay. That's going to be a little bit too broad because that's going to include axioms. Like, for instance, there's no point in you and I talking if I think I'm the only human anywhere ever. If I think I'm the only mind, right? So I have to axiomatically accept I have a mind and that you do too, or there's no point, right? So can I prove that you are separate from me and that two different minds exist here? No, I can't. Because all of my experience is internalized and experienced by my brain, which is the brain I'm using, which is circular, right? So I can never prove my experience of you. I can't even improve my experience of me. So that's axiomatic, that you are and that I am, that the universe is, that math is, that logic is. These things have to be presupposed axiomatically because we literally can't prove them. However, one step above that would be theory of truth. Like, how do you know what is actual? There's different ways to know that, or there's different ways to best justify that.
We have something going on over here. I can't with this fucking guys. I'm dead right now. He's fucking killing me. Ox, I feel very fortunate to have 148 subscribers, but thank you. I appreciate it. So, Richard, wait. So, walk back what you just said to me, because you're saying, wait, you have the level of truth, which is like we're looking at the thing we're experiencing, but the second level of truth you're saying is kind of what's behind the curtain, right? That's the all the mechanism that makes the whole thing work, right? Physics, math, all that stuff. That's the second level, the higher order.
Okay. Let's take, for instance, what you'd said. Behind the curtain, or things that are hard to see, is a wall that you just can't move. What's behind that wall is axioms. Things you absolutely will never be able to show. And we have to assume the axioms. Okay, now we can talk about what's behind the curtain. What's behind the curtain is the things that are hard to detect, that aren't so darned obvious, right? Things like, does your morality matter? Right? That's kind of hard to show, that your individual morality matters in some way. Or does morality of humans matter? Well, there's so many animals on this planet, and there's so many possible planets, and there's such big a universe. Does our morality matter to anyone but us? Does it matter in the larger scheme? Those things are kind of hard to figure out. Then you got the things that aren't hidden by a curtain at all. When people appreciate things that are obvious, they tend to be evidentialists. Like, can I physically show it? That's just someone who likes the obvious. It doesn't mean that they're shallow, but it might mean they've never been asked the right questions.
Or maybe some of that comes with experience, where like you could be told a thing over and over again, don't touch that stove, and until you touch the stove, you're not gonna hear the message. Like, you have to really experience the thing.
Yeah, like Aaron Ra was famously quoted as having said something that I've heard a lot of people say, including Raging Atheist. Philosophy is useless. Now, what a person saying something like that doesn't realize is that you cannot take the statement philosophy is useless and show its mechanical or intrinsic value. You can't put it under a microscope. You can't quantify that sentence and show that it's true. It's just a belief which is predicated on other beliefs the person holds, right? So can I be a strict materialist and an evidentialist who says something like philosophy doesn't matter? See, because philosophy doesn't matter is a philosophical assessment. That is philosophy. Right. You can't put that under a microscope. So it's self-defeating if I say I'm an evidentialist and that's all that matters. You see?
But it could be something that is less material to, like, so if you're so focused, once again, on performing all these other tasks, that all of a sudden you can't focus on the philosophy and the reason behind the thing you're doing, then you kind of become automated, right? You're kind of functioning in the way of a machine.
Yeah, you're only being influenced by outside sources, and you have no choice about it because you haven't thought about it more deeply. You're just reactionary.
Do you think all young people start out that way, and then there's just like
Absolutely.
a trajectory of life that, yeah.
If I go far back enough, I remember there was a day that I realized I was not an extension of mom, but I was my own human.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, because there is also the obligation to the parent, right? And you still feel you're
Sure.
supposed to feel that sense of obligation towards your parent, but not that sense of um, being so connected that you can't go and live your own life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be something like growing up.
Yeah. But then you always seem to return, and I find that funny because you make that you'd say like really when people get old they just return kind of to the state of mind they were in when they were young, right?
Sure.
You just end up back on the other end of that spectrum, like, so it's a really interesting thing to think of when you're taking care of your parents or your grandparents. Maybe it's the same thing as taking care of your children. You're doing you're just nurturing another human being who can't quite make sense of everything.
Right. Except those contrary elderly who keep their brains, just their bodies are falling apart. Now they're opinionated and unable.
And they still have driver's licenses. It kills
Damn
them.
it, man.
Stop driving. Take the bus.
Stop driving. You're dangerous.
see-
Stop driving.
I don't know if I'm being authoritarian there because I do think there's a hazard, but I'm like, okay, where should we draw the line? We'll let him go 35 in a 50 zone, whatever. Like, I don't want to be the asshole to pull them out of the car and tell them they're driving way too slowly and their hazard lights are on or something. I don't know.
I think my solution to it, not that this is very on topic, but my actual solution to it is we all know what the major group is and where humans are at their best functioning, which is, probably something in the United States, 21 to 65, right? But if you get past 65, well, in order to get your driver's license in the first place from when you were a teenager, you had to show somebody that you knew how to drive and fairly safely. Well,
Right.
reinstate that when they start going downhill. It shouldn't be a permanent thing because it was based on abilities in the first place. Okay, show me you still have the abilities. So the older a person gets past some certain age, and a consensus would be fine for this sort of thing to decide where that age begins. The older you get, the more often you have to take driver's licensing tests, just like an ungraduating scale. And then eventually you freaking lose it. You're not allowed to drive anymore.
Oh, am I still there? Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
No, Skyworks, I apologize. No offense intended. I think there should be, you have to have like annual proficiency exam.
Yeah, there should be graduating and then devolving licensing. Like at some point they can still drive, sort of. So all they can do is drive, within 2 miles of their house. That gets them to the grocery store and the laundromat and back. And that's right before they totally lose the license. And everything in that area would be like, 35 and under anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm like, how are they going to do that? Are they going to put like trackers on the vehicles or track their cell phones, or like, if they have cell phones? I don't know.
Dude, we have the technology. It's like
Something
no
interesting.
problem to track. That would be no problem at all.
Yeah, I'm getting a little screwiness over here. A little screwiness. I'm going to go
Okay, so
outside. Closer to the router.
So
here.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. It's just me.
So, it's about accepting realism that if there should be a graduating licensing procedures, there should probably be, degrading licensing procedures as well, because humans don't die in perfect health with perfect mental states, or the premium mental state. We just don't normally do that. So that's like, that's like new thinking about an old problem. And why does that occur to me? Well, it seems rational, to look at it that way. And if, A equaling A, driving, in this case, driving predicated on a person's ability, as their abilities decrease, so should their licensing.
Okay, so restricted class of license, like a restricted class of licensing that says, okay, you could drive, but only under these conditions. Like, yeah, we do the same thing to like teenagers here in California. It's like you can drive,
Sure.
but only with an adult and not at night or something like that.
Right. And we could work out the details, but the idea is solid,
Yeah, I guess I could get behind that. Just so we're not just ripping licenses away. I'm outside.
That explains why your living room's so big and pretty and filled with other houses and stuff.
Yeah. So, set this down.
Okay, so using those things as examples, there are several truth theories, and usually people have some base theory or a combination of two, maybe three different theories that which is how their brain really does work. The hard part's figuring out how does your brain work.
Oh, I am unmuted. Shit, I'm muted now. That is the hard part.
Yeah. So I could give you some samples, although it would take a couple hours of reading and you really being honest and self-analyzation to decide what your truth theory is. But I could give some examples of it. Like there's a truth theory that just says everything that I experience needs to work together, and that doesn't need to work with things I don't experience. Okay. So
okay,
it has to be coherent within itself. Does it need to be coherent within everyone's experience? Absolutely not. You see why that would kind of make sense?
Right, because I don't have to force people to experience things the same way as me, right? I just have to relate my own experiences to theirs.
No, this would be more about relating your own experiences to yourself and the rest of your experiences, so your experiences together make sense against each other.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I want to have an internally consistent model.
Right.
But I also want to figure out how I'm going to relate that to the model that others are presenting to me.
So you've already moved beyond coherent theory.
Is that incoherent?
You're too complicated for that. No, that it's not incoherent. Coherent just means consistent within itself, which doesn't mean the other systems aren't consistent within themselves, but they're not only consistent within themselves, they're consistent against other things outside of self, outside of your own experience. So as soon as you say something like, I would want my theory to make sense against other people's theories, you're out of coherence theory.
Well, but that's the conflict, though, because if I'm going to be able to reason with others, and perform, all these normal tasks, right? Where it's like, because my brain tells me that I need to correct other people, all the time. It's
okay.
Like when I'm driving down the road, like that, those old people who might need restricted licenses, I'm tailgating them and I'm like, what's going on, grandma? And it's like, I'm not a very healthy person in that way,
Fair enough. Okay, then you need something more universal than coherence. But that's just one example of one way to look at things. There's lots of ways to look at truth. And the reason that I think that eventually an adult has to figure out what their theory of truth is so that they can have all the cool words to use to explain themselves easily, so that when they get into conversations like this, they're not stuck with, I'm not sure, and try to explain the whole thing, which is just cumbersome. So it's a form of shorthand where the kind of conversations that you're already participating in, it would serve you well to have an identified truth theory.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, I'd definitely be interested in like reading on that, like just to try and figure out. So this is just, but it's all boiling down to basic formal logic, right? You're talking about formal logic as opposed to informal logic.
No, I'm talking about informal logic opposed to formal logic.
Oh, it is? Okay. It's informal.
But the way you just used that, I understood what you were trying to express, but it makes me think that you have been told bad definitions of what formal and informal logic are.
Okay. So what am I describing incorrectly?
Okay, so when people talk about formal and informal logic, in our language and the way that we use the words formal and informal, it's counterintuitive what they meant by formal and informal. It doesn't think what you might think it means. It actually refers to the form of the argument, like the physical structure of it, how it's put together. So you can't have, let me give you an example. I'll use a classic one. All crows are black. Some cows are black. Conclusion, some cows are crows. Now, the first premise was absolutely true. The second premise was absolutely true. However, no cows are actually crows. So the conclusion is wrong. This is a formal fallacy. That it wasn't both valid and sound. Okay. And then an informal fallacy is any fallacy that has nothing to do with form. For instance, within the argument I just gave, the problem with it is that it doesn't logically follow that some cows are then crows, right? And the problem with that is I have, let's see, how do I say that? I'm not versed enough talking about this. I need to get better at talking about it. I have made a fallacy of, I think that's a fallacy of correlation, that because all of one thing is black and some of another thing are black, then the second category falls into the first category. So it's not necessarily true, and I've put things together that don't belong together, and that is
categorical.
An
They would call that a categorical. Yeah.
It's a categorical error. So it's fallacious in that way, and that part of it is an informal fallacy. I made a category error.
Right. Okay.
And
So
that's probably not sufficient with one example, but.
So the informal fallacy is actually the stronger, or the more. Yeah, it's the one that is actually more important, right? Because
we're likely to do it all the time in common conversation.
Right. Or analogize things to things that are not analogous.
Right. That's an informal fallacy. Whereas if you have a written argument, a structured argument, and you structure it incorrectly, that's a formal fallacy. Like it doesn't follow the form of an argument.
So yeah, and so the argument itself could be invalid but sound, and then you would have
Right.
truth without a reason, without a good reason.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
I found this.
What is it? A squishy ball or something?
No, it's a piece of stone. I don't think it was naturally cut. It's hard to say though. It's nice though, just like a quartz or something.
Okay, with
I'm enjoying it.
it looks like it has at least one machined flat, and then it's
this-
about 1 inch consistently in the smaller measurement, and that makes me think it used to be part of a countertop. That's my
Maybe
theory
so,
right now.
yeah. And they just
Does it have
broke
one
it up
polished
and
side?
repurposed it. Yeah, it seems like it. No, it has. I think it has two, but it's hard to say. Actually, this side makes me think because it's kind of rounded. So yeah,
Yep, I see that. It's got a bevel on it.
yeah. Hey, I'm enjoying it.
It's funny because the optical illusion of the squishiness of the flesh of your hand, as you were playing with it and manipulate it, caused the illusion to me that was squishy.
It's like a marshmallow, yeah. No, it's nice and hard.
I had an unjustified belief. Which I'm justified true belief all the way. And I think Gettier problems or the exceptions to that are so begging the question that and they would apply so infrequently that they don't even matter.
Right. And so I like it, but when somebody makes this argument to you, how do you just have to like walk away? Like there's no like
What
really so if I'm saying like well, I guess like the most basic one would be like well, why does everything come from nothing? And you're like, I don't know. And then they're like, well, then if you don't know, then everything must have come from something, and that something, I don't know. He might be called, Yahweh. I don't know. So,
given the chance, I would point out their hidden assumptions, which they're taking axiomatically, which I don't hold as axiomatic. For instance, at one point there was nothing. That's a hidden assumption within the statement. Why should I think that there was ever a time where there was nothing? What shows that to me?
Did you see the Darth Dawkins Lawrence Krauss encounter? You did, right? I'm pretty sure that was.
Well, I know their stances individually, and I can imagine them talking together.
Oh yes, no, it's pretty epic.
I'm surprised Krauss would stoop so low.
I probably did it for money, but it was also just an entertainment value because he was laughing himself. I think.
I'll bet he was. But, I also saw Lawrence Krauss get his butt kicked by a Muslim man. And I mean, it was a total butt whooping. It was horrible.
Yeah, he's very good at explaining the things he knows, but yeah, a debater, I think he is not.
Yeah.
I mean,
great theoretical physicist.
I think he has some very good
famous
arguments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read Universe from Nothing like twice, and yeah, I thought it was compelling. There's obviously flaws in there, but
There's flaws that are obvious. I haven't read it. You'll have to tell me about it.
Oh, it's been a while, but yeah, no, I mean, as far as lacking a sufficient argument against whatever deism or anything like that, like, just kind of brushes it off. Like, that's not really important. It's like, well, it seems to be kind of important to a lot of people, but all right, yeah, well, just for the sake of, not arguing, we'll just go that way. And that works for me, but, like I said, it doesn't really give you any counter argument for those types of people. So I don't know, like, there's some people we just can't reason with, or we have to just use our logic to reason around them. Just let them have their silly beliefs and go home.
I'm looking up a video for you. I want to show you this. Watch this in your leisure. I guess I have to put it in private chat.
Oh, you're not modded?
No, I probably am, but I don't have. I do have your.
Oh, you don't
your
have
thing.
it.
Yeah, let me put it in there too.
Okay.
Just because it'll cause controversy and it'll cause thought, and maybe help people identify themselves and their position on what is not a simple topic. It's at least good for that. And I don't think it's wise to trust anyone too much, to just hand over my skepticism to anyone freely. Like, I know of no person on this earth that has earned that.
Okay.
I'm not going to give additional weight based on someone's reputation or how much I like them, on a personal level, or even based on their evident intellect or my judgment of how smart they are. I'm still not going to hand it over. I'm still going to look at everything they say on a case by case, idea by idea basis, and try to judge that individually, which is not an easy thing to do, by the way.
Birds.
You're in a part of the world
Yeah,
that sounds like either crows or ravens, and I'm trying to figure out which one actually.
Yeah, I think those are crows. I can't quite see them. Oh yeah, there's one up in the tree.
Several kinds of crows have some colored scale, some colored keratin formation, whereas ravens universally only have black.
Okay. These ones are very black.
Crows also have,
see them
compared
close,
to a raven, a smaller head. A raven's head is large compared to its body, where crows have like normal bird-sized heads.
Right. We're coastal, so I don't know if that makes a big difference. Oh, actually, we're not too far from where they filmed the birds. Probably those are crows, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, like, so just had 10 different thoughts come through, and then I was trying to wait, where were we going?
Let's see. Very, very basically, laundry. On top of laundry, truth theory. On top of truth theory, possible truth theories that a person might exist as or might accept as examples, but which is not thoroughly flushed out. And that's where I was in it anyway, or at least where I think we were.
Okay. Yeah, so in regards to truth, I guess, when you're talking about truth theory, what we mean by that is the ultimate source of your truth, right? Whatever your personal truth is,
the ultimate source of your ideas of truth would be your axioms. Things you have to assume.
Things are necessarily this way, and I just have to accept that. That's my axiom. Yeah, yeah. Okay, but then how do you form a singular coherent theory with that? Because that's just saying that if I turn this problem into like an equation, say, if I create a syllogism, A plus B, therefore C, I get the correct answer, and that's the only way to build on truth, is to make a formula.
And review it several times and have it critiqued and make sure that it's right. But yes.
Right. Well, seems like a pretty logical way to go about life. I don't know.
See,
like,
but there are certain things you can't use that on.
Like,
and that's where it gets kind of weird.
Oh, okay. So that's what I was thinking of. The human relationships and what you were talking about, trust. And
for instance,
like my mode is generally to try to give people, when they say give people respect until they treat you with disrespect. And then you might respond in kind, right? Like that should be the mode. But then there's other people who are playing a game with deception.
Sure.
So,
but let's just look at the word that you just used. Let's just look at the word should, because that's a great example and it's not offensive to anyone, and you already used it. Okay. What does should mean?
Should, ought to is something that if you were behaving, well, I guess morally, if we're talking about the oughts, then you would do that thing. You'd be compelled to do that thing.
Okay. So let's say there's a moral ought. Why should I follow it?
Because it's the most beneficial for you.
In what? Beneficial in what way?
Beneficial to an outcome that is preferable overall to the alternative.
Okay. So, I have only good working organs, and all of them, including a set of tonsils. If I was divided up into every basic part that could be transplanted into other human beings, I could save more lives than one. But I only save one life by keeping all my organs. Should I donate my body to science and have them, do whatever they have to do, knock me out, keep me in a coma, put me on machines as they remove my organs until I'm no longer a viable human being, and then allow me to die? Should I do that?
No.
Why not?
I don't think there's any reason we should take a perfectly functional human being. Like, say, if you were to donate, become an organ donor, then, that's fine. But I don't think we ought not take your life for the sake of others, like, without, there's a lot of questions.
But you described a numbers game where you said, what is the greatest benefit for the whole? But then when I said, should I give the greatest benefit to the whole, you said I shouldn't.
Well, it's the outcome overall. I think you could probably find a sufficient number of organs from people who are maybe terminal, or maybe they have two of those organs, so you can just give up one of them, and then, that happens. So there's no reason that it should have to be like a non-consensual thing or a thing that ends a life. That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, because if we're talking about preventing suffering or alleviating suffering,
sure,
then you wouldn't want to cause more suffering in the process. You want to do it in
No,
a
no, no.
way.
They put me on drugs and kept me in a coma. I was fine. I wasn't
Well,
suffering.
but maybe your loved ones are still suffering. I mean, maybe, maybe I'd be suffering because we're not going to have this conversation again, or something. But yeah,
So you see immediately the problems that arise from all these different ideas and why we argue over them.
yeah.
Yeah, which was the point of me saying those things that are ridiculous. I'm not. Obviously, if I believed that the right thing to do was for me to give up my life to benefit more productive persons in society with the resources that I have, thus ending my own life, then I would have done it by now.
It's an interesting thing too, because I've often thought that, like, my main reason for not, wanting to, end my own life, like, basically boils down to other people. And when I focus on other people and how that will affect them, then I start to feel regret. But any other time, if I'm focused on myself, it's very easy to just, say, oh, yeah, fuck that guy. And he's me. So, I don't know. It's like a weird situation we find ourselves in with that sometimes.
And this is why strict materialistic philosophy doesn't work. Anyone could claim something like in the case of solipsism, right? A person might say, I could be the only mind, or possibly the product of the only mind, and I'm part of their imagination. But the most likely answer is there's only one mind, because that's the simplest answer with the least complexity, right? But when they're driving down the highway late for, let's say they were going to a debate, and they've exceeded the speed limit excessively, and they're pulled over by a cop, they're not going to say to the cop, I don't think you exist. They're not going to say, go ahead, give me the pretend ticket. I'll maybe pay it in my imagination with some pretend money. They're not going to react that way in real life, which means the entirety of the idea is not the way that they live, which makes it pretty useless. Now, it sounds all smart to say, oh, I'm a solipsist and you can't prove me wrong. Well, that's fine. But start living your life that way, I dare you.
Yeah, you're not going to get very far with that one.
No.
Marxist philosophy? I think so. Is that what we're doing here? I had no idea. I am a rock. Yikes. What time is it? 3 o'clock? Well, I'm still waiting on the dryer, so we got...
So here's my favorite joke about philosophers. Have you heard the one that asks the question, what did the employed philosopher ask of the unemployed philosopher?
What?
Would you like fries with that?
I'm a shady lemur. Standing in the shade. Yes.
Oh, it's Cat. Peace and respect, Cat.
Yes, it is. Cat hasn't been over in a while. You come over, Cat. Walking around the yard. Some rocks. Got a lot of rocks here.
I don't want to count them. Yeah, that's quite a lot of rocks.
So, yeah, man, so I'm doing a thing now where I'm like what I was saying earlier, the getting automated. There's the dryer. Like, to where all I have to do, like, the only thing I do is I get up, I say, what am I doing today? I have, like, a set of particular tasks I got to do on that day. And then I've got to go to work. And then when I'm at work, I just have to, like, literally, I have an alarm set every hour on the hour just to, like, keep myself in check. And then I have to consciously focus on doing my job and not getting distracted. And I've got to, like, oh, I know this bus is coming at 11:30, or, I know this bus is coming at, so then I'm doing that, and I'm, like, actually trying to memorize this shit. And it's like, I feel like I'm back at school. Like, what is my teacher's name? What time is my class? It's the same. It's like almost the same fucking steps. And I'm, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I've literally been
Wait a minute, that's
transported back in
cheating.
time.
No, that's cheating. It's by design that school looks like that. They made it look like adult life. No, it's training kids to be adults. That's what school does.
Yes.
So it's not that you've been transported back into your childhood. It's that your childhood was preparation for now.
And I just forgot the steps while I was doing it. Like,
possibly you have to tell me that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what happened. I just forgot the very basic steps of going to school and doing my homework and all that good shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is beneath me. Way too smart for all that.
I've often asked myself the question, who's more fortunate? The A student who is stuck in a class designed for C students, where the C student gets an A and the A student can't stand how boring it is? Or is the C student better off? Because you know that they can follow the rules and they feel good about themselves and everyone tells them they're doing a marvelous job and they get an A.
Yeah. Good grades. See, that gets you in trouble, though. Because, if you get good grades and you pass the test quickly, then you might be a nuisance, man. I don't know. Might start causing trouble.
Actually, it was a problem with me individually. I was 13 years old. I told Mom I didn't want to go to school anymore. She said, why not? I said, it's stupid. And I'm not learning like real things. And I don't want to go to school anymore. She said, well, to keep me out of jail, you have to go to school. So I'm going to say you have to go to school. And I said, fine, I'll go to school. So I thought I'd try it one more time. By failing miserably, I thought maybe that she'd let me out of it if I was just a total failure. So for an entire year, I did nothing. And I failed because I didn't do anything. So she saw that and she said, you have failed everything. I said, yes, I know. I'm stupid. How about if I don't have to go to school anymore? She didn't buy it. She said, no, you're going to go back to the same grade. And this time you're going to pass. So I thought, oh, I have to pass. Fine. What does it mean to pass? It means to not get an F. What's the least I can do and not get an F? Obviously a D minus. How do I get a D minus? So I sat down and I looked at how things were graded and what they were worth and blah, blah, blah. And I came up with a system. If I got 100% on all of the homework I turned in and all of the tests that I took, then I'd have to do all of the tests, but only 25% of the homework and none of the schoolwork. And that is what I did until I graduated. I did the absolute minimum, maintaining a D minus average for 4 years.
That was kind of how I got through high school. Yeah. I mean, cause I didn't end up graduating. And I skipped quite a bit, but I did end up going back just to avoid any legal repercussions. But yeah, I didn't get my GED till I was freaking 30, and that took a long time. It's just like every step I walk back, and I'm like, I thought I could just get through life without doing it, and then eventually life made me do it anyway. So yeah,
Yeah, it
probably should have
does.
done it back then. It would have been easier.
Yeah, it was easier when like mom was paying for my food. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely easier in that situation.
And it feels
Yeah.
like so many older people do tell you these things as a young person, and it's very, very difficult to listen.
Oh, sure.
They'll tell you, be like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it my way, and then find out that, your way might not work out for you, and you got to deal with that.
Right.
But I guess, it does all kind of work out relatively in the sense that, we get through bad times, and, even if bad things happen to us, we're able to overcome that. And then we have much more pleasurable experiences, I guess,
I really think that, well, let me start on the opposite side of the scale. Anger is compounded frustration, which is compounded disappointments, which is compounded misjudgments, which was compounded failure to accept truth. What's the opposite of that? Accepting truths, using them in reality, causes success and happiness. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But there's another school of thought that says you can kind of manipulate the reality around you to make a truth that you want, right?
Well, that's not
and it does seem
false.
to be the case sometimes. Yeah.
No, that's fundamentally true as well. That's just looking at whether or not I want to control my environment or be reactionary to my environment. It's still truth. It's still accepting truths. Like one possible truth you could use it as an example is I don't want a relationship. I'm mad for completely legitimate reasons. Probably not, Jason. Sorry. One example I could use is I don't want a relationship, and it's 40 years ago, and I just want to have sex with somebody, right? So I'm going to use in that scenario that I know what a person wants to hear, that they'll find me attractive and become attracted to me and want to have a sex with me, fairly immediately, right? Now,
Yeah.
is that true in reality? Well, yes, it is. Certain people need to hear certain things in a certain order, said a certain way, and that's going to get them aroused. Now, as long as I didn't lie to them, I didn't say something that was untrue, like I didn't promise to start dating them. I didn't promise there was going to be even a second date. I didn't promise that I was committed to them. I manipulated the situation in a way that was beneficial to me. And if I did a good job and cared, was beneficial, caring was beneficial to them as well. Right. But that's not lying. That's just using your environment, which is actually accepting more truths. You have to accept truths to use and manipulate your environment, or else you're a puppet of your environment.
Right. And sometimes that truth includes the fact that other people are not going to be a part of that game. Sometimes they will, but sometimes they won't. You can't force other people to bend to your will, because then that's the bad thing, right? So then you have to find other ways of trying to play the game, manipulate the environment, right, that are more flexible.
Sure. Like one way you might manipulate your environment is figuring out what business is, how to take advantage of business, making yourself wealthy, which makes you more attractive to more partners. You might do it that way.
Right. I don't like that way though. I don't know. I think there's another way. No, I don't want to pay people to. Yeah, no, I'm good on that. I'll leave that for other people.
Well, I have. I'm still working on this. I'm not ready to plant my flag on it, but I think there's some fundamentals here that do make sense in reality. In relationships, people are looking for certain things. The kind of people that I'm attracted to are looking for three things, and there may be more, but fundamentally, physical, financial, and emotional security. That's what they're looking for. So the more that I can provide any of those or all of those, and the larger amount of each of them I can provide, the more attractive I am.
See, so when you say that, I think, well, a lot. It seems like most people are. We're supposed to be more independent, right? So, damn dog. So I'm not supposed to be providing that security. That person should bring that security with them, and then we should collaborate with our resources. I'm not actually supposed to be the source
you
of
want
that
a
person.
healthy partner.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping for one.
Oh, well, that's different. I want somebody completely dependent on me. See, that's what
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a stay-at-home wifey type who's cooks and cleans and all of that good jazz, right?
Yeah, easy to control, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about, so you're not into like the, do you know like about the poly relationships, polygamous or polyamory or polyandry?
Okay, first of all, I was completely joking, although that would be true for some people.
No.
What I really want in a partner is someone who's probably a little bit smarter than me, a little bit funnier than me, definitely sexier than me, and independent and strong-willed and all those things. What do I think of polyamory? I think it's not my interest, but also none of my business.
So I've been approached in a couple of poly relationships where I couldn't find it within myself to share a partner in that way. And so that made me think twice because I had other ideas when I was younger, but when I really put it into perspective, I said, oh no, I couldn't actually reciprocate the behavior, except under like very specific unrealistic conditions, right? So okay, that just got to rule that one out. But they're like, this person's great, like I absolutely love this person, but I just can't share, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't know if anything about that resonated with you.
Actually, for me, it's almost like a germaphobe thing. Like I can't stand that I would be with people I didn't agree to have sex with remotely or vicariously. No thanks. That just sounds nasty to me.
Yeah, I mean, or you would have to be like very attracted to the other person, right? So there's no like there's some kind of awkwardness where you're like, yeah, I kind of have to, rub that guy's balls. Don't really like it, but it's just part of it's my job now. That's not how an intimate relationship is supposed to work.
No, I would think that would not be advantageous for everyone involved. Oh gosh. Yeah, to be honest, if I were in a polyamorous relationship where there was a female sharing two males and I was one of them, I couldn't be in that relationship if the other guy was my brother. No. And I love my brother and I trust my brother and I know the medical background of my brother, but just the same, no, the idea still grosses me out.
That was actually the one exception I made when I was younger. Me and we weren't biological brothers, but best friends since puberty. That was our arrangement. Was we were gonna share, and we were okay with that. We're like, no, we're good. But it was just me and that one specific person. After that, he passed away. It's like I could never imagine having that arrangement with anyone else. Like, yep, we're just gonna share all of our spoils, that type of thing. But it was just like the full, true camaraderie.
Oh, I think I get it. You guys like set out as a team, and that would double your chances. I get it.
Yeah. Oh, there was a whole philosophy behind that. Yeah, we were.
Oh, man, it sounds like it. It's very teenage thinking, but yes, I can see where that went. Well, watch that video if you get the chance, and I recommend for any human being on the planet of adult age that they spend some 3 hours looking at least into what their most agreeable truth theory is, just so you know where you stand, and have some shorthand terms to use. And I'm going to sign off for now, and thank you for your time.
I'm muted. Yes, thank you, Richard. It was very, very nice talking to you, and
It's always good to
much
talk
love,
to you
man.
too. Much love.
I'm going to
Peace,
sign off
everybody.
as well. Peace. The Rock. Yeah. Time for me to go. We'll be back later. Awkward.